What is that?
It's my bone.
God damn it, Cartman!
How would you like to suck my balls?
What did you say?
I'm sorry. Actually, what I said was... How would you like to suck my balls, Mr. Garrison?
Holy shit, dude.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Suck My Balls. We're back, ladies and gentlemen, for another edition of Suck My Balls, a South Park review. This is episode number 28 as we continue forth on reviewing every episode of South Park in order. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you've noticed that me and Scoop are in festive South Park mode as we've decided to use the, Zoom green screen capabilities. And we put up the little South Park graphics behind us. Well, Scoop is overlooking South Park with Coon sitting right above his shoulder. And I'm at the 7-Eleven South Park version. So that's where we're at today, guys, as we get ready to review for you Chef Aid. It's a fun episode. A lot of voiceovers and cameos, a lot of special guest appearances that get to do their own voices. One of the very few episodes itself that gets it where the celebrities are voicing their own characters. But as you were heard to start the call there, I am not alone, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matthew Schaffer. You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Matthew_Schaffer. And after, 2 episodes, felt like forever, my boy, after skylarking around the world, he's back, everyone. He's back. He's back. He's back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to his show. You acting? What's up, buddy?
Yeah, well,
You're back.
I'm back.
I told the listeners, I don't know if you got to hear the episode.
Yeah, I'll be back. I was coming back.
I told
Just like it was like a meltdown over the week. Like everything that could possibly go wrong just fucking went wrong. And now even like this week, trying to deal with this curfew that they set here, it's just and wanting to protest and all, dude. It's been pretty rough.
I mean, I include the listeners in, obviously, very transparently, not like in depth. I was like, Scoop's car broke down and his phone broke and he got stuck at a hotel. So it was a shitty weekend and he's not here with us, So, but you're back. That's the good news. Everything's now taken care of. Your wallet obviously is a little bit lighter, unfortunately, as if you all are right now in the time of Corona.
And we were driving the car this morning and it started.
Like, wait a minute, I just got this fixed.
Right. It's like, did I just pay $600 to get spark plugs changed? So.
But let's try to have a positive conversation.
Right, with everything that's going on in the world, let's see if we can get some South Park in us, man.
For sure. Well, all right, Chef Aid is the 14th episode of season 2 and the 27th episode overall. South Park. It originally aired on October the 7th, 1998, and this was a very famous episode of South Park because an album was released in tandem with this episode, as well as a television special which aired on Comedy Central. So Chef tries to claim that Alanis Morissette plagiarized his song, Stinky Bridges, you got stinky bridges. However, the record company in this episode decides to sue him for making that statement. Well, Scoop, Stinky Bridges, Chef Aid.
Stinky Bridges.
Funny episode. I enjoyed this episode very much. How about yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad. Scoop's back for 2 weeks, guys, and that's what we got.
I mean, yeah, I enjoyed this episode. It's a funny one. We got stinky bridges. I can't get down on my head.
That's what I'm talking about. So Cartman has become obsessed with Atlantis Morissette's new song, Stinky Britches, that he can't get out of his head. The cafeteria is how the show starts, and he's singing it, and then Garrison walks in, and then like initially Garrison thinks like Cartman's like saying something like I don't know, offensive to him. What did you say? Stinky bitches, yeah, got stinky bitches. And then Kyle's like, he's singing the new Atlantis Morissette song, and Cartman's like, I can't get it out of my head. And then Kyle's like, where's Mr. Hat? And Mr. Garrison's like,
Children, did you say hi to Mr. Twig? Hi, boys. How are you?
When is Mr. Hat coming back?
I told you never to say his name in my presence.
But we hate Mr. Twig. Mr. Twig sucks. Yeah.
It just so happens that Mr. Twig is far more stable than Mr. Hat could ever be, so he's the better puppet. Now,
He'd be better used as a coat rack.
how dare you?
I thought I told you to never bring up that two-timing horse name around me again. And then again, once again, just like in the previous episodes here, Kyle and the rest of the class all contend that they miss Mr. Hat. They don't want to see Mr. Twig no more. And Garrison is upset. He gets emotionally triggered. He runs away, Scoop. And this leads to the boys and walking into the cafeteria. They see Chef again. Cartman still singing "Stick Every Day." Yeah, I got to every day. And Chef's like, where'd you hear that song, boys? It's the new Atlantis Morissette song. Well, I'll be. That's my song. He explains that he actually wrote that song about 10, 20 years ago. And it seems that the record company has now reused his song. And he's not, obviously not either getting a portion of it or even getting credit, which ultimately that's what he wants at the beginning of this episode.
Right.
It's like, I don't even want the money. I just want to be like recognized. Hey, yeah.
I would want my name on. That's all I would really want. You know what I mean? Shit, put my name on it.
It depends. I don't know. I think if it was me, I want the money too. So, give me the royalties too. Like that's why I'm coming after you. Like, duh. I mean, the credit's great and everything, and that's awesome. But if you made a bunch of money off my work, then I should be able to get some money. That's how I see it. Give me some, pay me, dog. Pay me. What's the 4 steps, bro? Start up, cash in, sell out, throw down. So Chef and the boys come to the agreement that they're going to go seek out legal counsel, Kyle's dad, in a representation to, maybe go. Well, actually, what they decided to do is go to the record company first. They go to the record company and like they play the song, and the guy's like, I don't hear the resemblance. And they're like, and Kyle's like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? It's the exact same song.
Now look, I'm trying to be cool about this, but you can't just rip people's music off. It's against the law.
I am above the law.
Yeah, and he's like, I am above the law. That was kind of his catchphrase in this episode. I am above the law. And in this whole
rubbing splooge into his hair.
Oh, splooge.
Splooge.
Yeah, I got some Ben Affleck splooge on my hand. Yeah, Ben Affleck splooge. Anyway. Oh, kisses for my Benny.
Kisses for my Benny.
Taco flavored kisses, honey. We are your wishes for taco flavored kisses. Taco. Oh, Kyle. I'll see. Oh, you like my kisses? Okay, anyway, I love doing Jennifer Lopez voice, but I'm Mitch Connor. We're gonna get off.
Mitch Connor.
I've been traveling town to town, kind of honoring little boys. Oh man, there's some great episodes. South Park is a joy to laugh about, and I hope you're laughing with us here, wherever you are, whenever you are listening to this episode. Scoop, I noticed that people have started to watch our YouTube videos.
Me too.
Like I was like, that's big here.
People, I think, people like to put a face to who they're listening to, and
it's crazy.
We could start developing a relationship there. Maybe start talking back to us.
I think the next step for us to do, and it's just extra work on my part, is unless you start editing stuff, is to chop up the YouTube video show into like 10-minute segments. and then upload those separately because I think micro content works really well for people. They like to just watch 5 to 10 minute videos sometimes instead of a whole show. So if it's split up into parts, I do that as well all the time. Like, you just watch like, I don't know if you ever watched that YouTube stuff like Did You Know? It's like, Did You Know? And like they just talk about like, Did you know? Like about the gaming, you know what I mean? And about the background, the history of stuff like that. But they'll do it like, they'll do short episodes that are like 5 to 10 minutes, but then like a month later, they'll drop like one hour episode. So you know what I mean? So it's split up into micro content. So they're not only getting more views because you're watching more people, you also have more videos as well. So, and then, like I said, shorter time frame. Maybe somebody doesn't want to sit down and listen to us blather on for 60 minutes about South Park. Maybe they're like, can you just get the fucking what does Kenny say and the goddamn underlying tones, you fucking people reviewing the show? Or maybe not. I don't know. But if they if I cause or we cause an emotional reaction like that, I'd be pretty proud. So let us know in the comments. The boys and Chef go to the major record companies we mentioned. They explain that, unfortunately, they're now going to be sued because apparently Chef harassed them. Chef's like, you know what? I'll get a lawyer. And he's like, fine, I'll get my own lawyer too. So
we'll get the best in the biz.
Right. We'll get the best in the biz. Well, at the time, 1998, and he could be considered all time. I mean, from his celebrity status, if you will, in the media, if you will, is Johnny Cochran. Now, Johnny Cochran in this court case, he's making his regular arguments back and forth. Gerald believes that he's made a sound case, but he also notes as long as he doesn't use the Chewbacca defense, then we'll be okay. Unfortunately, Johnny Cochran does use the Chewbacca defense, and it's quite comical. This is Chewbacca. Does that make sense? Did any of this make sense? I'm talking about Chewbacca in the courtroom. That does not make sense.
It did not make sense.
That does not make sense.
Did not make sense.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chewbacca. Chewbacca is a Wookiee from the planet Kashyyyk, but Chewbacca lives on the planet Endor. Now think about that. That does not make sense. Damn it.
What?
He's using the Chewbacca defense. Why would a Wookiee, an 8-foot-tall Wookiee, want to live on Endor with a bunch of 2-foot-tall Ewoks? That does not make sense. But more important, you have to ask yourself, what does this have to do with this case? Nothing.
Meanwhile, on the other side, Mr. Garrison is doing his own stuff. He's looking for Mr. Twig, and this is, I would say, one of the first episodes where we see a character have a psychological breakdown in regards to their own sense of self-identity. And this pattern is repeated later with Cartman and the dolls, right? When he kills all of his dolls as well. So in this episode, Mr. Garrison does it with Twig, Mr. Twig. And we initially find out in the first scene that he's looking for Mr. Twig, and Mr. Twig is like in a saucepan of boiling water. And he runs in, he comes in the kitchen, he's like, Mr. Twig, where are you? And he opens up the top of the saucepan, and he sees him, and he yells him, and he like throws it off the top of the stove, and Mr. Twig lands. And you just seem like Mr. Twig. Well, back in the courtroom, the judge decides after that riveting defense by the Chewbacca defense, gives it to the jury. The jury decides that Chef is guilty and awards the record company $2 million. Scoop. That's kind of ridiculous. What was the merits of suing him? One conversation?
Yeah, claiming that
$2 million.
And in a real case, like if it's older than the song that's now, the person that has the proof of it being older can't, like, they win. You can't sue them for stupid.
Yeah, you can't countersue for that. That's ridiculous.
Just because of a conversation.
Yeah, now, I mean, if Chef decided to go out there and he started releasing his own music, they could try and sue, and then Chef could countersue and say, look, I do have the rights because I wrote it, and they never reached out to me. And rather than trying to make a legal mess of this, I was just like, fuck it, I'll put out my own song that I actually fucking wrote. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
unfortunately, he Chef walked in there. He wasn't even looking for money, being the nice guy that he is. It was
Kind
just
of set himself up almost.
it's kind of sad.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. Well, after that, the jury decides that he's guilty. So Chef, unfortunately, he doesn't know what he's gonna do. Well, this is ridiculous. So Mr. Garrison now, again with Mr. Twig, this is the side story in this episode. He goes into the bedroom and he sees Mr. Twig in bed. He's like, "What's wrong, Mr. Twig?" He takes off the blanket.
Oh my God!
Mr. Twig is broken. He's like,
Not Mr. Twig.
"Who broke Mr. Twig? Who snapped him in half?" So he realizes that someone is out to get Mr. Twig. So he sets up a camera after those attempts to kill Mr. Twig and discovers that the culprit is Mr. Hat.
Mr. Hat.
So it's quite sad. Mr. Hat shows up in his wardrobe near Mr. Garrison, throws Mr. Hat outside his door, and he's shouting. And then, actually, I apologize first. He called the police first at the early part of the episode after he got boiled, and he had pictures, and he tried to show Officer Barbrady that it was Mr. Hat, and he's like, "Here's the culprit." And Officer Barbrady looks at the pictures, and he goes, "Can I go now?" He's like, "You freaking wacko." Then he walks out.
Wacko.
He walks out, and so that's when Mr. Garrison discovers it's Mr. Hat. So eventually, as he's half naked, Mr. Hat shows up. Yes, he throws him outside, and then his neighborhood and the cops show up, and he's like yelling at an imaginary puppet.
And I'm not going to take you back. You can just go to hell. You go to hell and you die. You are a lying ball of turd, Mr. Hat. I hope you starve, you lousy son of a bitch. What are you all looking at? This is between me and Mr. Hat. It's over, Mr. Garrison. This is it. We've had enough. What do you mean? I'm afraid it's the big house for you, fruitcake. What? Jail?
Is he though? Is he imaginary?
Oh, I don't know, man. But he's yelling at a.
Up
Go
until this point, one can argue, yes, he's imaginary, because do we actually get to see the pictures? Do we see Mr. Garrison's arm in the puppet or something? Is it just Mr. Hat? He's Mr. Hat. Okay, Mr. Hat. See, up to this point, one can argue, yeah, it's probably just Mr. Garrison and his gets out mind. But I don't know. After this, it gets a little weird with Mr. Hat.
Well, I mean, it's totally weird, bro, because you got what, Mr. Hat left to go bang Brett Favre. He's a two-time and a whore. So, I don't understand.
God damn it.
I don't understand. What is Mr. Hat?
What is Mr. Hat?
Well, Mr. Hat, they all realize that, they all believe that, he's crazy. So they send him to jail. They put him in jail. At the same time, Chef is trying to avoid entering the jail system by whoring himself out to the town. So there's two different little side mini stories here. Chef decides to try and raise the money for $2 million. He's going to whore himself out to the town, have sex with everybody in town. The boys get the idea, hey, we'll go after being told by Chef that he used to be a cook for a lot of big name musicians, that they're going to go reach out to musicians and stars and see about them, maybe contributing money via a celebrity bake sale or candy, I guess, in this case. So Chef is banging the chicks in the town. He bangs Kyle's mom. Nobody ever fucking talks about this in the later episodes.
I know. I was going to bring this up. Yeah, I was going to bring this up. And
Oh, thank you, Chef.
No problem, Miss Blaflowski. Now about that $100.
Of course. Here you go. Leaving so soon?
I got a long way to go to raise the kind of money I need.
Well, best of luck to you then.
How was it, honey?
Pretty much what I expected.
Gerald walks in. How was it, Sheila? And she's like, just how I imagined.
So Gerald is totally on board with this weird shit, bro.
Does Gerald want to be cuckolded while his wife
It was a fucking cuckold. That's the word I was thinking.
Is Gerald a cuckold?
He fucking watched it, I bet, bro. I bet you he did. He
did.
He's a sick fuck.
He is a sick fuck.
Weirdo. Why would you let your wife do that? To save my marriage, I'm gonna let my wife have sex with another man, and it doesn't even matter that it's chef. It's just anybody. I'm saying, like, it's stupid, ridiculous. You can't get it up. Can't do your job. Huh? Yeah. Huh? I'm Broflovsky, big time lawyer. Don't got it in the pants anymore. Then again, though, if you look at Sheila, you know, I might pay for someone else to do it too. So there's an argument to be said for both sides, I guess, huh?
I guess so. You know, double-edged sword right there, I suppose.
So after showing all of those musicians to the kids decide to venture out and they, I guess, travel on a plane to California. They don't really show you, but they're on a plane and they kind of insinuate they're going to California. So the kids are out in California and they're meeting, you know, Elton John, Meatloaf. Meatloaf was funny. Who the hell are you? He's all, what do you want? Chef? I love Chef. I used to be Couscous. Like they go to a flashback story. Couscous was his original act. Elton John was singing about songs. Oh, my cheddar cheese girl now. Oh,
my cheddar cheese girl.
So that I think that song's actually on the album. A lot of the songs that were sung were on the Chef album. I mean, this is a musical episode. To be real, this is a South Park musical. In essence, with all the music they showcase in this.
True.
So you know, they go to all these musicians and whatnot. Well, unfortunately, after going to a couple of different musicians and you know raising some money, selling some candy, they get back and they meet up with Chef as his house is being raided and he's being you know arrested now by the police for not coming up with $2 million. Which, by the way, let's be honest, in a legal situation, they're not going to throw someone in jail for that. They would garnish your wages. They might tax you heavier, but you could file for bankruptcy. So like that's a non violent criminal offense. So I don't believe Chef would have gone to jail in real life in a big time case for that. He would have just been fined, and like he could have set up payments to the court. You know what I'm saying?
For like the next 57 years.
Yeah, or something like so. Or he would have had, like I said, his wages garnished, and you never would have gotten to taxes until it's paid off.
Right.
Or he could pay it off at some point. Or, you know, they could take his assets like they were doing, but they can't come in and take your house, shit in your house like that. They would be able to take liquid assets.
But I am above the law.
Exactly. But he's above the law. As the asshole producer comes in and starts taking out Chef's shit. He even took his photo album. What a douche. Has no value. He just took it to take it.
They can't do that. So it's an over exaggeration.
It is for sure. Well, Chef gets thrown in jail. So he's in jail now with Mr. Garrison. Mr. Garrison is like, he's like, you know, Mr. Twig and me had a great relationship, but Mr. Hat and me have a lot of history. And the Chef's like, you finally done cuckoo, have you, Mr. Garrison? You snapped. What are you talking about? Don't you see? You got multiple personality schizophrenia thing. And then all of a sudden, Garrison's like, I warn you, Chef. Don't you get any ideas about raping me?
Don't you get no ideas about raping me, Chef?
Chef's like, what?
God.
Which obviously Garrison is a closet homosexual at this point, so he is trying to get Chef to take advantage of his hiney. Do you think if Mr. Garrison had not been in jail and Chef was whoring himself out, he would have done it with Mr. Garrison? If Mr. Garrison paid?
I don't think Chef has ever hinted at being bisexual.
I'm just saying, desperate times call for desperate measures. If he needed the money, what if Garrison forked up some good cash, like 10 G's? Do you think Chef would take you think for the children, up your butt, he would take it? Oh, poor Chef Vader. You know, they never did anything with Chef Vader. Whatever happened with Chef Vader? Never brought it back. It's been like 12 seasons since Chef died, you know?
Mm-hmm.
After that fruity little club killed him. Fruity little club. Let's remember the good times. So in the town square, the boys decide then they're going to hold a Chef Aid. Meaning they're going to actually put on a concert, kind of parodying what was like the Queen big time concert that happened in the late 80s and 90s. all the big concerts and whatnot. But this involves Cartman on stage doing the German dance and getting people to pay for it. I don't like this German dance. Stupid. The event doesn't manage to attract many, but all of a sudden, all the musicians just start showing up. Like Elton John, he's like, I thought you might need some more help, which makes sense because he only bought fucking like 3 Yum Yum bars, you fucking cheapskate.
Right? Like, oh, so dumb. It's like you owe this fool your career and everything, and yet you owe three candy bars.
Yeah, I don't what.
Fucking dick.
So all of a sudden, a huge gig is now in full swing. You know, Chef, he's still in jail with Mr. Garrison. And this is the weird part we were talking about, because a car crashes through the wall, and driving the car is Mr. Hat. So it doesn't make any goddamn sense. Is it Mr. Hat real? Is he not real? Does Mr. Garrison have psychic powers? I don't fucking understand.
Can anybody explain this to us?
Hit us up, suckmyballsgmail.com, suckmyballspod@gmail.com, and you can Twitter us at suckmyballspod. So now we've got a huge gig. It's in full swing. You know, Chef turns up, like we mentioned, as he breaks out with Mr. Garrison having escaped prison, and everyone's playing music, and they got all the different bands, and they're talking about like their different Chef experiences before he shows up. Elton John to Rancid to one band, I forget the name of the band. They're like, oh, we don't even know Chef. Oh, right. Well, this is our new song anyway. And they just play. They had, what was it? Primus played. Ozzy Osbourne shows up and kills Kenny. He kills Kenny. He bites the head off Kenny's head, and we'll talk about that. What did Kenny say? That's really only Kenny's appearance. And he dies. And then, yeah, Chef finally shows up, and it's like Peanut style. Hey, Chef, we're all here for you. Ah! Whatever. So
Ween.
Right. You can see that Ween was the band. Ween. What is that band? What the fuck is that band? Like
I'm looking them up right now. Ween.
If you're listening to
this American alternative rock band from New Hope, Pennsylvania, 1984.
Okay. What's like some of their big hits?
Let's see.
I'll edit it in the podcast. It can't be on YouTube because we'll get copyright. But if you're listening to this on the podcast, you'll hear the music here. Once he tells the title, I'll hit the under.
Trying to find. This is not.
The suspense is killing me. I hope it lasts.
Chocolate and cheese, Golden Country Grades, the Mollusk.
All right, well, I guess I'll play one of those songs. I don't know what the hell that is. Ween.
Pure Guava?
Pure Guava.
Yeah.
Weird stuff. All right, Ween. Apparently they were a band in the 80s, so clearly me and Scoop were still in diapers or just learning how to stand up, so we were not watching this band.
Mm-hmm.
So in the town, or maybe Scoop was I don't know, doing push-ups. Maybe that's what he was doing back then. He was like, yeah, push it, bitches. I gotta get sick. Fuck you, Kyle. You're like a little token, like working out. What's up, dude? I'm working out. I would totally Tamer Strange.
Dude, Joe Strummer was there. What? You know who that is?
No.
That was the co-lead vocalist of The Clash.
And he was in the Ween?
No, he was one of the standalones.
Oh, okay. I was like, he was in Ween? Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well,
so here's a list of all of the music people. I found it. So it was Joe Strummer, Rancid, Ozzy Osbourne, Ween, Primus, Elton John, Meatloaf, Rick James, DMX, Devo.
Yeah, they got a lot of people to appear in this episode. Rick James. I bet you they were able to get Rick James because Chappelle's Show was pretty big at that time too.
Right. And this show was really starting to gain traction. Like everybody was starting to watch this now. It's like, and if you kind of didn't, it was like, oh, well, then you don't really know what funny is. You know what I mean?
Well, I had that debate with Rick Vickery from Hami Media about what was better between South Park and Family Guy. Supposedly, at some point, it's going to be released in a fan vote type situation where the fans will decide. But from the initial response that I got on my Facebook post when I talked about it, it was overwhelmingly that Family Guy sucked and South Park was better. Now, I'm not going to say that Family Guy is a bad show. You know, admittedly, I do watch Family Guy. I sometimes like to smoke something and watch some Family Guy. It's a stupid show to watch. But if you want to compare it to South Park, there is no comparison.
There isn't. Like, they're two completely different shows. Like, at the same, like, I understand the concept and the premise of the way that they deliver their jokes. Like, you can, like, seriously, Family Guy got all of their delivery material from South Park. Like, South Park is a pioneer. You cannot compare. It's just like comparing The Simpsons to South Park. It's like a lot of the jokes and delivery, the way that that South Park delivered some of these jokes was from Simpsons, because Simpsons was a pioneer.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, there's no question. Dude, Family Guy is stupid anyway.
So at this gig, Chef's like, "Oh, boys, you did this all for me?" He's like, "Yeah, I did." He's like, "Oh." And they got like stacks of cash there. And then the splooge guy shows up, the big record producer, and he's trying to ruin the event. Well, his idea of ruining the event is cutting off one of the legs on the stage, and the stage just like barely moves. Yeah, that's it. That's what he
horrible
wanted.
villain.
And apparently ruined the music event. But on that day, Johnny Cochran's heart grew three sizes.
Well, in South Park, they say, Johnny Cochran's heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Wait! Mr. Chef, this music has really touched me. I'd like to take up your case free of charge.
You will?
I will.
Bigger and like Mr. Grinch. And he decides that he's going to take on Chef's case pro bono. And then like Elton John later on will sing a song, but first we go back to court, and then Johnny Cochran does the Chewbacca skit again, and this time wins, and Chef gets recognized finally by the record company, and obviously doesn't have to pay $2 million and does not have to go to jail. And then Ellen John sings Stan's song, because when he first met them, he gives them a note, or hey, Mr. Elton John, if I give you a song, will you play it and record it? And he's like, yeah, I will, but I'll own all the rights for it. And goes through all like the litany of PR, and I'll own 20% to it and distribution rights worldwide. Okay, so he sings the song, "Wake up, Wendy, smell the coffee." Wake up, Wendy.
Wake up, Wendy.
Wake up,
Smell the coffee. Wake up, Wendy, the sunshine.
Wake up, Wendy. Anyway, so that was it, guys. As Chef gets out of jail, he wins the countersuit and he gets the credit, and all is well in the land of South Park. And that was your episode, guys, of season 2, episode 14, Chef Aid. So let's get into what did Kenny say? What did Kenny say? What did Kenny say? So, what did Kenny say? In this scene here, it was with Ozzy Osbourne. Now, he explains that initially he was told by Chef not to bite the head off a bat, but to get a new fancy hat. It was like, get a new fancy hat. And I thought he said bite the head off a bat. And the rest is history. And he started singing, and he gets Ain't Nowhere to Hide. And then he picks up Kenny, and you see Ozzy Osbourne's like, ah! And Kenny's like, all right, dude, let me go now. And then Ozzy bites his head off and then looks up with a bloody mouth, and Kenny's head is missing, and the music dies down. And then that's when Stan and Kyle say, oh my God, Ozzy Osbourne bit Kenny's head off. You bastards. And that's what Kenny said. That was it, guys. It was a short. Kenny didn't have a lot of lines in this episode. It was a very background character. Yep. Yeah. He had a couple other like, yeah, okay, nothing of like, you know, that it wasn't like, oh, okay, what did he say? You if you watch the episode, you figured it out as the lawnmower once again fucking comes on at my house. God damn it, motherfucker! Every time I record now, Scoop, they're like, "Oh, that's recording. Time to fucking lie door again." Fuck him. Suck my balls. So here's some underlying tones and fun facts. This episode marks the last appearance of Mr. Twig because during the Chef Aid, there's a breakdown, if you will, where apparently Mr. Twig is French because he's like, "Do you love him? Then if you love him, you must run to him." Stupid. You must love him and never let go. So Mr. Twig's gone, and we now have Mr. Hat. So that was the last episode of Mr. Twig. If you look carefully at the person at the front of the crowd, you can see that he appears to be the band member Jonesy, who was also in the Clubhouses episode, and who was also part of Skylar's band in Cat Orgy and Timmy 2000. Lords of the Underworld. The episode was a plug, as we mentioned, for the album Chef Aid. What?
Timmer.
Okay, Timmy. Jimmy. I love when he does that. Jimmy. This episode was a plug, as mentioned, for the fucking album, the Chef album, and featured many of the songs, which I might plug one or two here on the podcast here if you're listening. Judge Moses is actually supposed to be a likely reference to Isaac Hayes' albums Black Moses. I didn't know that before I did. But of course, Isaac Hayes is the voice for Chef. So that's a interesting little fun fact there for you. Well, Mrs. Crabtree, variation of this episode, rather than where the kids walk in the scenes and Chef says, "Hello there, children," and the kids say, "Hey, Chef." They actually did it in opposite order this time, where the kids walked in.
Hello there, children.
"Hey, Chef." "Hello there, children. How's it going?" "Bad." Anyway, Mrs. Crabtree's hair is actually a lighter shade of brown in this episode, and you're wondering, what do you mean, Mrs. Crabtree? Yeah, well, when Chef was whoring himself off to all the women in town, he banged Mrs. Crabtree. In fact, he said, "Mrs. Crabtree, would you be interested in using a sex toy? I've got this great love bag." So he puts a brown paper bag over her head so he doesn't have to see her face when he smashes. Fucked up, hilarious. He goes, "Oh, that's better." If you look carefully when the boys are looking in Chef's memory album with Chef, there is a picture of Steve Urkel in it for a brief second, as well as a picture of what looks like him fucking a goat. I don't know if you caught that.
Yep. It's pretty dope.
I don't know if that's pretty dope. That's kind of disgusting. You sick weirdo.
So then now we can kind of answer that question you had earlier. Probably would. He probably would fuck Mr. Garrison for the right amount of money.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Probably whip out that dick and put it in him.
This episode parodies benefit concerts, musical. Like that. I got that. I got that off of. I remember being a kid. I don't know if you remember when this came out. I want to say I was in the 6th grade when it came out. Eminem's Marshall Mathers LP. And there's the scenes, the little cut scenes between the songs. And one of them, it's like, yeah, go ahead, suck it. Yeah, suck it on. I'll suck that dick. And then like somebody walks in. Oh shit, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. It's like Eminem doing comedy. I don't know. It's pretty funny. So that's where I got that. Yeah. So I carried that with me.
Yeah, I carry it with you.
Anyway, so this episode parodies benefit concerts, musical gatherings, of course, which commonly feature aid in their names. Some of the most prominent ones have been organized by Boomtown Rats member Bob Geldof, who put together such events as Live Aid. That's the one with Queen. And the Live Aid. And they were all for charitable causes, as bringing famine relief to Ethiopia. The episode is also a commentary on the often convoluted and complicated legal issues associated with the ownership of intellectual property in the music industry. I think that's a good point. The record company was able to essentially, they thought that they owned the rights to the song probably because it was in their catalog or whatever, but they didn't own the rights and didn't credit Chef. So therefore, Chef didn't receive any royalties. Like if you had just credited Chef, then honestly, they probably could have had the legal case to say, no, it was we own the song. You worked for us, but we gave you credit. Like you wrote it, you made it, you recorded it, but we repackaged it and had somebody else. That's a convoluted ownership, right? But music companies get around all the time. So Mr. Big record producer acts as though he is above the law. I am above the law. I don't know if you know this. He kind of looks like a parody of Adolf Hitler, and then he uses the tube of hair, spooge. It's actually called spooge too, which is slang for semen, by the way. Spooge. Oh, I got Ben Affleck spooge.
Spooge.
The Stinky Britches music video that Mr. Garrison is watching is a parody of the Alanis Morissette music video for her song Ironic. Ironic, get it? Which was featured on her 1995 album Jagged Little Pill. So that's kind of ironic that they made a parody song about Alanis Morissette. Ha ha ha. The lawyer representing Mr. Big Record Publisher is Johnny Cochran. Now, Johnny Cochran passed away in 2005. He was born in 1937. Cochran is best known for representing O.J. Simpson during his 1995 criminal trial. Thanks in part to Cochran's defense, O.J. Simpson was acquitted of the murder charges from October 3rd, 1995. Now, let's get into some funny stuff here. The Chewbacca defense in the world of South Park is what got O.J. Simpson cleared of murder charges. This is, of course, a parody of Johnny Cochran's closing argument during the O.J. Simpson murder trial. The exact statement that they are parodying is, "Where's all the blood trail that they are banting about the mountain of evidence? You will see
it's really never stream.
They don't have any mountain of ocean evidence. It's not so because they say so. That's just rhetoric. We this afternoon
are talking about the facts.
And
so it doesn't make any sense.
It just doesn't fit.
If it doesn't fit, you must quit.
If it doesn't fit, you must have quit."
They don't have a mountain of ocean evidence. It's not so because they say so. That's just rhetoric. We this afternoon are talking about the facts. And so it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make any sense.
It just doesn't fit.
It does fit. You must quit.
If it doesn't fit, you must have quit. So that was some of the underlying tones there. Let's get into our top moments here as we finish up the episode. Number one, the side story, Mr. Garrison and Mr. Twig. Have me your hand. You liked that? You liked that? You said?
Yeah. I think it's good. It gives you a little character development into it, and we finally learn that Mr. Garrison is crazy, or he's hiding something, or he's been burying something deep along that he's been afraid to admit to himself.
Interesting, or somehow Mr. Hat is a real person. We don't know.
We don't know.
Number two, we actually get all the famous bands, Rancid, Ozzy, Bean, some of them you said. So we actually get all the voiceovers. Like they're actually in the episode.
Yeah. Well, we got some real famous ones, like Joe Strummer. Like that dude was in the Clash. Everybody knows who that is.
Yeah. Can't argue that. Number three, Stinky Britches. You got Stinky Britches.
Stinky Britches. Got Stinky Britches.
Do you like Alanis Morissette?
No, but the Cartman singing and everything is too funny.
Why don't you like Alanis Morissette?
I don't know. I just couldn't get into her, like that weird music, like her and Enya, and just being weird. I don't know. It's too eccentric for me, so I just couldn't get into it.
Well, I have a confession to tell you.
You like Alanis Morissette, don't you?
I hate Alanis Morissette. Anyway, let's get into the next topic. Like Johnny Cochran, the Chewbacca defense. All right, so here we go. Oh, whoa. Okay, never mind. So let's get into the Chewbacca defense. I'm going to go ahead and recite it. It goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chewbacca. Chewbacca is a Wookiee from the planet Kashyyyk. But Chewbacca lives on the planet Endor. Now think about that.
Hold on.
That does not make sense.
The nerd is coming out here. It's Kashyyyk. Not
Yeah, I know,
Kashyyyk.
but it's hard to pronounce it when you're doing that voice.
Kashyyyk. Yeah, you're right. That doesn't make sense.
Anyway, Gerald says, damn it. Chef says, wait. He goes, he's using Chewbacca defense. Why would Wookiee, an 8-foot tall Wookiee who went to Endor with a bunch of 2-foot tall Ewoks? That does not make sense. But more important, you have to ask yourself, what does it have to do with the case? Nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, it has nothing to do with this case. It does not make sense. Look at me. I'm a lawyer defending a major record company, and I'll talk about Chewbacca. Does that make sense? Ladies and gentlemen, I am not making any sense. None of this makes any sense. And so you have to remember, when you were in that jury room deliberating and conjugating the Emancipation Proclamation, does it make sense? No. Ladies and gentlemen, the supposed jury, it does not make sense. If Chewbacca lives on Endor, you must acquit. Defense rests. That's the stupidest argument I've ever fucking heard in a court case.
I would die as a juror. I'd be like, you can't be serious.
Kashyyyk.
Oh.
Yeah, damn it. So that is the Chewbacca defense. Number 5, the judge from the case, as I mentioned, I thought was hilarious because he just like when after he makes that defense, the judge Moses there's like a long pause and he goes, "Okay then." I was like, that's exactly how I felt. Of course, the judge just helps moderate the case in this jury. So he's not going to ultimately make the final decision whether he's guilty or not. That's up to Johnny Cochran. Or sorry, that's up to the jury. One thing I just popped up though that I didn't like what the judge did. He was like, I sentence you to $2 million, and if you can't pay that, you're going to jail for 8 million years. And then like his bailiff pops up in his ear. And he goes, oh, sorry, 4 years. I was just like, that's kind of ridiculous.
Stupid.
Yeah. Number 6, one of my favorites, the DJ for the Chef Aid. Every time he would introduce somebody, coming up next to the chef, it's Branson. Woo! Woo! Branson! Promise! Woo! Woo! I want to say that's the same guy, the same voice that ends up being in the Battle of the Bands in the Timmy 2000. The Lords of the Underworld, Timmy 2000. Woo! Anyway, so that was our top dislikes. The record producer, you said they felt that they didn't try very hard with the villain in this episode. Give me a little bit more detail on that.
I'm above the law. And then squirts spooge and rubs his hair to the side. And like, it's just, he could have been more devious in his plan to beat Chef, I feel like, It just wasn't very in depth.
Fair enough. It was very short.
Maybe we
really
didn't get him enough. I don't know.
Yeah, all he did was really sue him and then tried to cut one of the legs off of stage, and that's
Right.
and rubbed spooge in his hair and took half a Chef's shit. That's basically all he did. Number 2, everyone owes Chef for their time and careers, yet they only buy some fucking candy bars.
Seriously, only like 2 or 3 candy bars. Come on, guys.
But is it up to the boys? Did they really emphasize that they needed to get $2 million? Is that on their fault too?
It's on their little wagon.
I mean, you're right. Cartman did have the little graph. As you can see here from our graph, we only got in $97, well below our $2 million goal mark.
Well below our $2 million mark.
Number 3, we put down, didn't like that we were kind of confused about, if Mr. Hat is real or not. I don't ever think we really ever get an answer. Even when Mr. Garrison comes out of the closet later, we don't really get that answer.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, the last one, we didn't like I don't like the polka dance. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I don't like polka music. I will sing a dance for you. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Dumb. Scoop, that was the full episode. Does this make Scoop's top 20?
Nope, it's top 50.
This makes Scoop's top 50. This makes my top 100.
I knew it.
Yeah, it doesn't make my top 50. It's a good episode. It's funny.
Top 100.
It's the top 100. I think that's fair. That's fair assessment.
It's like 70 something.
Yeah, 70 something. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, that we did it. That's another episode, guys, right here on hackerhomie.podbean.com, ratsaladreview.com, as well as on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Breakercast, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Mom's Cast, Eat a Cast, Shot a Class, Do a Class, Smoke a Class, Eat, Touch a Cast, and Write My Ass. And you can continue to watch every episode, as you can see on YouTube, with myself here and the Steve Jackson. My name is Matthew Schaffer. I'm your host with most of those on the West Coast, your boy, MSG. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Matthew_Schaffer. And of course, this is my boy Scoop. If you want to hit him up, you can hit us up on Twitter at SuckMyBallsPod, and you can banter back and forth with him there. Yeah, guys, look, before I go, something I posted on my Facebook, and I'm going to say it here too. Look, you have an opportunity right now as a human, as an individual, to open up the lines of communication with others. Expand your social circles. Expand your political gatherings. Go to different outings. Go to different churches if that's what you do. Or go to different gatherings, religions, races, events. Go to all different things and learn and understand from people. And once you learn and understand from people, you'll really come to the conclusion that guess what? Everyone's having a shitty time, and we all need fucking toilet paper, okay? So if you want to go out there and riot and protest, go out there and riot protest peacefully. Don't kill people, don't do that. If you're gonna burn something, burn government shit. Don't burn small businesses. I'm not saying do it, but if you're gonna do it, take out the cops, take out their shit. I'm not for it, but don't take out Billy Joe's business that he's been working for 30 years. It pays for his 5 kids. Like, that's fucked up. Like, he's not doing anything wrong. He's just trying to make him ends meet. And his store got closed already from COVID, and now he burned his goddamn store down. But I'm also not advocating for you to burn cops and military shit. And I'm not advocating for violence anyway. I'm just saying, choose who you're going to fight with, guys. Realize what the consequences are going to be after as well. Anyway, Scoop Jackson. That is another edition, guys, of Sick Man.
Suck my ball.
Well, you can just suck my hairy balls.